And I'm like,
I didn't invite you to
so much happened. I haven't spoken to this individual that I see all the time since, because I'm like, you have no idea that in my mind, every weight, every object that holds weight in this place was going to be thrown at you, because in my mind.
It's your girl Angie Rose, and you're in the field with the Trackstarz.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz. Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. What's good?
All right. For all things Trackstarz, visit www.trackstarz.com. Make sure that you sign up to be a part of the Trackstarz universe. We have the official, which you don't want to be excluded from. And then we had a Trackstarz universe where conversations like today have taken place. But make sure that you are looking at becoming an artist, that you go to the artist section. If you are a person that wants to be a part of the universe, you go to the universe section. And if you want to submit your music, your beats, or your videos, you go to that section. So all things Trackstarz, www.trackstarz.com.
Okay, so what I want to do is turn this a little bit. I want as much as possible, if you guys can, stay away from relationships. This topic is not about relationships, okay? I want to dissect the article I brought up at the beginning, all right? And I want to see how this lands on us. So this is from the Very Smart Brothas, and this is a small part of it. When speaking about race and racism, we want our concerns and our worries and our fears to be acknowledged. This is black people. We want white people to at least make an effort to understand that our reality is different from theirs, and that white supremacy is a vital and inextricable part of America's foundation. And we grow frustrated when they refuse to acknowledge their role, historically and presently, in propagating it. When the racism isn't blatant or doesn't appear to exist at all, we want them to give us the benefit of the doubt, because we've trained ourselves to be able to sense it, even in minute and barely minute and barely perceptible amounts, because our safety depends on our recognition of it. We share how it feels to be stopped by a police officer, or perhaps to walk into an all-white bar and have each eye trained on us, or perhaps to jaunt down the street in an all-white neighborhood, and we want them to understand how words and gestures they consider to be innocuous can be threatening, even if there's no intention of malice. Although we recognize that not all white people are actively racist, we want them to accept that all benefit from racism, and we become annoyed when individual whites take personal exception and center themselves in any conversation about race, claiming to be one of the good ones and wishing for us to stop and acknowledge their goodness. But when black women share that we pose the same existential and literal danger to them that whiteness does to us, and when black women ask us to give them the benefit of the doubt about street harassment and sexual assault and other forms of harassment and violence we might not personally witness, and when black women tell us that allowing our cousins and brothers and coworkers and other people to use misogynistic language propagates that culture of danger, and when black women admit how scary it can be to get followed and approached by a man while waiting for a bus or walking home from work, and when black women articulate how hurtful it is for our reactions and domestic abuse and their rapes and murders to be what women need to do differently to prevent this from happening to them, instead of what we men need to do differently to prevent us from doing this to them, their words are met with resistance and outright pushback. After demanding from white people that we're listened to and believed, that our livelihoods are considered, our ears shut off and hearts shut down when black women are pleading with us. What do you think?
Yes. Yes.
Because that was another thread that kind of occurred in that topic. It wasn't all about relationships. It was about, because of course we know the Me Too thing is going around right now, where some big Hollywood people, government officials are being called out. Some really big ones happened this week. Shows are getting shut down because of it and all that. And there's been this culture of, why didn't you say something earlier? You were just doing it for the fame. You know, just like there's this natural male reaction. And while I was listening to the concerns, I was trying to listen to it as if I was a white guy listening to the concerns of black people. I didn't personally realize how serious this was to you guys. I'm just going to admit that. I didn't know it was that serious. So as I was realizing that I didn't take it seriously, I understood what it would be like to be a white guy trying to sympathize with us talking about take a knee, police brutality, and it's like, yeah, but I get it, but I don't do that. I didn't have, I felt what it felt like to try to defend myself when people are saying that there's things that men in general are doing wrong. I can now see how white people have trouble understanding what we're saying. So in that same effort, what are we not understanding? What needs to be done? How do we show the same sympathy towards you guys that we're expecting white people to show towards us?
Well, that's hard. I think the first thing would be to believe us when we tell you. And I think that is hard because a lot of guys immediately go, well, I don't know anybody who would do anything like that. And immediately that makes us feel like this wasn't about you anyway. This is about me and what happened to me. So I need you to focus. Like this, for me, I know it's often like, oh gosh, I see, oh, this happened to us last week. So literally we're walking down the street. We're going to church. We pass a security guard who sees a dude ahead of us who looks like he might be an issue. We pass the security guard. I look at the security guard. He looks at me. We cross the street. Old dude that we thought would be a problem becomes a problem. He starts to follow us. But I looked back at the security guard. He's doing nothing. Just because there's 3 girls and 1 dude does not mean that we do not need someone to come and alleviate this situation, because that guy was scaring us. We're literally walking all the way on the inside of the sidewalk. We are holding bags. We are just like, okay, it's a block to the church. Let me just try to make it through. We're literally in my head thinking of like, okay, if he comes close to me, what am I gonna do? Because yes, there's 3 of us, but he looks like he's like tweaking or something. Like there could be an issue. Like why isn't anyone coming to help us? I'm looking around like, why won't someone come and help me? If I were to tell someone that, what would be your response to me? Would it be, oh, there's 3 of y'all, you'd have been fine? Would it have been like, oh, you should have, I'm like, rather than being like, oh yeah, he should have helped you. He should have been there. Someone should have come and help you. And I think so often you guys immediately go, well, if it were me, I would. Well, you're a guy. That's different. Myself, help me. What would you have done? How could this situation have been better? Because someone would have been like, oh, those are women that I should probably help. Not just, oh, there's 3 of them. They'll be fine. Because none of us were fine. None of us. We were scared.
And to add a little bit of context to that, this was somebody who ended up coming to where we were after exchanging words with an officer. So this person was a threat when they came to where we were. And this all happened in a matter of less than a minute. So between the person coming over from the altercation with the officer to us reaching where the security guard was. So it wasn't y'all were walking for blocks. We don't know what happened before. All of this transpired in the same space. So it was clear that we needed some assistance.
And black guy.
Yes.
The security officers on both sides are black guys. So you would think, hey, sis, y'all be quick with that, sis. Hey, sis, do you need someone to walk you?
Yes, and I made full lengthy eye contact. For the time that I approached the security guard, I'm looking right in his eyes, like, hello, something. And nothing.
Yeah, I've literally talked to David, my boyfriend, about like all the guys that have hit on me in all the different countries that I've been to. It's not just an exclusively American problem. And I realize I laugh it off, but I think about those moments when I felt unsafe in so many different contexts. When I was reading through the Me Too's, it was from everyone, all these different political persuasions, all these different races and cultures. And honestly, it's made me realize how much I've pushed down. And so I guess like 2 days later or 3 days later, like to go into a space and to say, hey guys, you're hurting us with your words, and to be attacked and for us to become the victim. And I was like, oh, and this is just the culture that we're used to, that we're just used to being shouted down. I was just telling Jasmine how much it meant for her to speak up a day later, because I knew that Amanda and I had already been like cast aside and been thought of as hostile, been thought of as like, shrill harpies who just want to bring the black man down or bring whoever down. And for us, I wasn't surprised, but I was sad even in that space. So I guess what would help would just to take on the beatitude. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Be a part of the comfort. Be a part of, like speaking the kingdom of heaven for those who are poor in spirit. We're poor in spirit. Like we're in America. Well, we're in the world. Like our bodies are are often much more vulnerable than yours are. They just are. And so if that's not a reality that you can get with, can you at least be a part of listening to us and believe us and like make it not so? Like, we're not crazy for saying that.
So I'm trying to so follow me. Do you understand what I mean? I'm trying to get y'all involved because I know you don't want to say nothing controversial. But do you understand what I mean when I say that I understand what it's like to be a white guy in this situation? Where you hear the concerns of somebody and it's like, okay, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what it feels like. I'm trying my best to get it, but I can't get it, right? So I try to listen to all this through that lens. And it helped me not necessarily excuse what white people have to do, but it helped me realize how hard it is, their role in this as far as trying to understand. I'm trying to apply that same, what I expect them to do to this. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, it does. I mean, when I listen, listening is something where it's like I can identify, like, oh yeah, the two security guards, the police officer, security guard, they should have been more attentive, right? Because we go somewhere and we are always like, okay, who's with us? Make sure they get walked to their cars. Or we did that last week, 2 weeks ago at the battle rap contest. So it's like we are always thinking, our antennas are always up. And I think it's a little different when you're in tune to, what if that was my wife? You know what I mean? Like, what if my wife and her friends are walking out? I would definitely want the security guard to be around them or near them, especially if they don't have time to pull out a phone and call me and tell me, hey, be mindful, we're walking down this street, and if something happens, call the police, tell them where we are. You know, that sort of thing. So I do understand that part. I do understand also, like, when you're saying what it's like to be, you know, a white person, because I know that I've had conversations where I'm like, okay, here's how I feel. My grandfather served in the military, whatever. He didn't die for this country in battle, but he did die, you know, right after serving. And so it's like, well, he came back with mental issues and things of that nature. So for him to be in a country for us to be in a country right now where black lives and police brutality are all the more, you know, the heightened, I wouldn't expect him to hold his hand across his chest. I would tell him not to. I would say kneel for this, because if what you fought for, you know, all men should be created equal. If that's not the case, then yeah, this is not the side of that battle that you need to be on. So take your advice of the people around you and do something about it. And so when I hear this, I think the same way. I think, wow.
But what can we do to be more proactive in this? Because I don't know. Did you know that this was a hot button issue before the Me Too stuff? Before like Miracle would talk about it? Like, did you know it was a big deal?
I didn't. I haven't heard, so I probably didn't know. No, but I do. I think at the end of the day, I think people want to feel protected, especially if you feel like a lot's coming at you and somebody's being rude to you or anything like that. You know what I mean? You want to be protective. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking, you know what? I'm thinking about New York now.
Yeah.
Like, we should have been superheroes in New York, but we didn't. But we were like scared. I think honestly, I can see myself was scared.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you gotta step up for somebody, like she just said, like feeling not protected in the atmosphere that is hostility. You know what I mean? In general, and I just didn't know. And I think it goes even far beyond just catcalling. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of it, but I think it's even more of, as a woman, like as I think about my wife, like, she wants to feel protected. And I can even think about going a step further of like sisters in Christ want to feel protected, regardless of if they're wherever they are. If you're around, you should say something when somebody is making a joke that's not funny. If somebody's saying something that's rude and obnoxious, you got to step up as a man and be like, I don't think we should go there. You know what I mean? Or even standing out. You know what I mean? Because that's even part of standing out too. You know what I mean? So
I do think that part of it is not necessarily, you don't feel as connected to it, because just like with white people, when we want understanding, it's easy for them to say, well, all of these incidents look isolated, and racism is defined by an action and not necessarily a mindset. So where we're looking for understanding, we're trying to attack a mindset that they don't know that they have. and trying to tie a mindset that they don't know that they have to something that's outright racist, they're steps. So they don't necessarily get it. In the same way, I think a lot of men don't understand that when women are looking for help and looking for support, there's a mindset that you guys don't necessarily realize that you have when it comes to certain things, in that if we've not been physically attacked or said something to, then we don't understand that there are other things that are going on. You don't understand that there are other things that are going on that are affecting us in the same way. So if you're like, well, a rape didn't actually take place, he did not actually put his hands on you, he didn't actually harm you, then it stops there. Whereas for us, it's like, but there was so much that transpired from us getting out of the car to walking with this man that was mental. And it's, I guess we don't know how to connect you to that part. There's a lot of fear always, and even when things, even when things don't happen. I had a conversation with somebody that I see often just in life, and go to the same grocery stores, live in the same neighborhood, somebody of the neighborhood. And I had a conversation with this person. The conversation ended and they said, give me a hug. And I was like, I'm gonna hit you with this smooth high five. He stepped closer to me and immediately everything in my body was like, what are you gonna throw? And for him, it's like, what's wrong? And I'm like,
I didn't invite you to
so much happened. I haven't spoken to this individual that I see all the time since, because I'm like, you have no idea that in my mind, every weight, every object that holds weight in this place was going to be thrown at you, because in my mind I'm like, how many things can I get to? How can I move?
You're like, I'm by myself.
You know, exactly. How agile am I? Am I in the angle of a security camera? Is this something? How can I defend this? So much happens in a moment when nothing happens, and I think that trying to translate that everyday fear with no actual action is hard. It's hard to convey that to you, because sometimes you guys, understandably so, from not understanding how we feel, define it by an action.
I have a question. How many men are out there that are doing these type of, like when you said that, like if I'm having a conversation with a woman, I'm not going to just say, give me a hug. Like even before I was married or anything, like I wasn't that guy to, like, I don't even think like to disrespect somebody in that way. So my question is, like, how many guys are out there that's like, are like that, like just like that random thought wouldn't even came across my mind.
But I think for him, in his mind, he's like, I'm not disrespecting her. I kind of asked for a hug. If she didn't want to really give me a hug, she'd probably be like, oh no, stop. And he's probably had that before, not realizing that's her playing it off like, get out my space. Yeah. Because I am pushing you away, but I have to do it nicely, because I don't know if you're gonna get mean about this. Yeah. Because so many women have to figure out how to flirt her way out of a situation, because we've grown up in this man world where uncles, cousins, friends of your friends, your brothers, friends of your brother have come into your space, and now you're like, I have to figure out how to preserve y'all two friendship, but I don't like the way you're speaking to me right now. I don't like the way you're looning over me right now. I need you to realize that there are times when I just don't feel safe. I've walked into a room with men and I don't know exactly what y'all was talking about, but it just don't feel good up in here. Like, and there's been, you're like, some of that may be me, and it's understandable because I am a woman, but other times I'm like, no, I gotta get up out of here. I feel the tension. I feel like something's popping off. I don't know how maybe you have a friend that you didn't know that friend just giving me this look like he is not sure exactly how close or far away he is from doing or talking to me some type of way. Men who like to like get on your shoulder and talk to your neck is...
Men who look you up and down while they're talking to you, even in a professional setting.
Or in a church setting.
They're in a church setting.
Hold your hand too long, and then giving you a handshake. Who start doing this on you, and you're like, I did not invite any of this. Like, and then you realize why women start to like clothe themselves, and really like why you think black women have this attitude immediately when you like you thought it was cool and then she went kind of crazy for a minute. It's because you triggered something in her head, like, I need to make sure he knows that this is not that type of conversation. I need to pull up the guards real quick. Like, we have to be ready at a moment's notice. Like, I don't know who's a crazy man in this. Like, I've gotten comfortable with men, but you always got to be ready for, like, what if he goes werewolf on me real quick? And I just got to be like, no, I never let you think that this was a thing. And while you're like, she always seems to be on guard. I am. No, I am.
Yes. Because the thing is,
I'm small too. I gotta fight.
We walk into spaces, and unfortunately, more often than not, and for much longer than people like to believe, we've been seen as sexual objects.
Right.
You know, we become women when we have women parts, not necessarily by a certain birthday. And so for a very long time, we're accustomed to, when we're in a situation when we feel like someone may be possibly trying to do something, especially when we get unwanted sexual attention. A lot of that attitude is because, honestly, I have to do something to let you see me in a non-sexual light right now.
Immediately.
Right now. Whatever it is that you're feeling, I have to shut that down right now. So if you're looking at something, you'll see women fidget. You'll see women do things because it's like whatever it is.
You'll see her catch your girl's eye from across the way. Like,
whatever it is that may be attracting you, we're like, how do we shut down whatever it is that he may see? Whatever it is that he may see. So then it's like maybe less eye contact. Maybe.
Yeah, and I have an example too. Like, just the other day, I was at the gym working out, and before I even start my workout, I was taking off my shoes and stuff like that, and my sweatpants and things like that. And the guy comes up to me and said, he comes up to me with his hands rubbing like this and said, so that squat machine, you do a great form on that squat machine.
No, I don't.
And I'm thinking, I didn't even start my workout. And he was referring to a different day where he was watching me squat. So like stuff, like all of this stuff that we're talking about here, when it comes to harassment, sexual assault, all that stuff, it happens more time than not. The statistic is 1 in 3. Well, and I always think of this because I was one of those Me Too people. I put that hashtag on my Facebook because I've experienced it as well. And so the thing is 1 in every 3 that's the reported. I didn't report mine. I don't know about y'all, but I never said a word. So imagine how many that go unreported. So you got to imagine, like, there's so many women in this room outside in the grocery store that have experienced some level of harassment to rape and have never said a word about it because of the shame that comes along with it, or victim blaming and all that stuff. So we're surrounded by so many instances like that, and so that's why we want that protection. That's why we kind of timid sometimes, or we think automatically go to, oh, what's he about to do, kind of attitude, because so many people have that experience, that past, that background, whether it's,
following you around in the grocery store.
Right, grocery store, gym. Like, why you coming okay, I know I got good form. I don't need you to tell me I got good form, okay? Like, so yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
So is and along with that, is there a privilege that we're not aware of as men that we have?
Yes.
What is it?
Y'all don't look like us.
You can go into a place and feel safer than us. You can go into a place and not realize the dangers. I know a lot of times, even when you're younger as a Black woman and you try to express what happened to you to like a friend or a brother, because they don't understand, you minimize it, and then that makes us think that we have to minimize it. And then you, even though you may have heard that what we said, you may allow that to happen again. Like I remember when I was dating a guy and his friends was, a little bit extra, and I was like, man, I don't really feel comfortable. He's like, no, they're cool. And you bring me back around those friends. I've told you that I'm not comfortable with your friends. You, even if you don't all the way believe me, as my dude, you should definitely at least make sure that I'm not in that room again, especially by myself if I'm with them. Like, it should never happen again. I think so often, because it's not happening to you, or they're your friends, or, you said something similar, but you didn't think it was bad, or you don't understand how that can make someone feel unsafe. You just discard it and keep moving.
Even expending all that energy that we just described, having like ridiculous amount of like James Bond psyops going on in our head, that's energy. Like that's taken away from our personhood. And so when we like express it and we just like lay it out there, open the door and say, this is what we have to go through on a regular basis, and every single one of us are nodding our heads saying me too, when like the conversation gets routed back to, but nice guys don't have to finish last. It's like, that's not even what we're talking. You know what I mean? Like the conversation, like all of a sudden it has moved from, but we're vulnerable, to you hurt my feelings. Your offense should not be equated with actual danger. You know what I mean? Like there's such a difference, and so like it's not on the same plane. Kind of like how we're talking about white people, black people. Like if someone hurts my feelings, if you experience a rude black cashier, that's not the same as a police like pulling you over and hurting you. You know what I mean? Like so offense and like a different power dynamic are completely different things. And so when we like the privilege is that doesn't have to be confronted on a regular basis. You don't have to absorb that you don't have to give grace on a regular basis to people who don't understand that. And that takes a lot.
I think what's also interesting is that black women ride so hard for black men when it comes to when y'all are hurt. Like when we see something wrong and we're like, no, you can't do that. We ride for y'all. We have the hashtag and everything. And then when black women say something happened to us, that support is not seen on our side. We don't get black men going, no, you don't do that to her. We go, oh man, you're like, I don't know. You know, it seems like that may have been like, what were you wearing though? Like it depends on where you were. If you were at a rap concert, you should have known that was gonna happen. You're like, what? I wrote for you. Like you were kind of in the wrong, but I was still on your black power. I was here for you.
Can I ask a question about that? I guess the question, a black man. I guess the question would be that if I don't know. God, I want to be PC because he's gonna be on me later. Jeremiah, what are you talking about? I think the thing is and I'm glad you said that about the dress, the whole dress thing. I think some guys feel like, and I don't think none of us feel this way. So I'm just saying, guys. I think some guys when they see a woman half dressed, that's the sign of saying she's about that life. So I'm approach her like she's about that life. It's wrong, but I think some guys see that as a sign to say, hey, I need attention, so come talk to me. So what would you say to the guys that's on that level?
Well, why? Why? Because I mean, unfortunately, a lot of what we've learned growing up has been protection, and those are the conversations that our dads and things or our guardians have with us, or hopefully. And for y'all, it seems that a lot of this stuff is kind of like a part of coming of age and being a man, and this is what certain things mean, and you look at magazines or you do different things, whatever they may be. And unfortunately, a lot of this is learned coming up, and it's so ingrained in our mind that it's just harmless in how we interact that we don't realize that, wait a minute, we are instilling very light traces of rape culture into young people's minds. So when a person could work out and feel like they look good and they put something on that may show legs or whatever, you can say that person looks nice. There's nothing wrong with paying that person a compliment if the person catches your eye, but keep it moving. And just like if a man, you work out, biceps ripped, you're looking all good, you've been hitting the gym and such, and you got your tank top on in the summertime, you wouldn't want to feel like any old woman can just pull up on you and just touch you and grab you. And I think a lot of times in the fantasy of that, you're assuming it's some young, gorgeous girl, but say it's not. No, but I'm just saying, say it's really somebody that you have no interest in, somebody who is very much older than you, maybe even a respected person that feels like they can just come up to you and be like, oh, you got little holes in your shirts. That would mortify you. But for us, we have to explain that, hi, that's not what you do, because sometimes it's just hot outside. Or sometimes it's an occasion where I can put on a party dress because that's my right, and you can compliment it, but you don't have to engage with it in any other way.
And don't assume that she about that life. See, that's the problem. You're assuming that, or not you, like but the guys are assuming that she's about that life based on maybe their previous circumstances or whatever. But that's the thing. Assumption can throw a lot of things off. When you assume even something through a text message, someone's tone of voice, or through an email. So don't assume. Like, have a conversation. Like, what happened to conversing with one another? Just conversate with that young lady and talk to her in a normal way. They don't have to aggressively approach us in a way that's like, oh, we know that she about that. Nah, she not. I mean,
and just to wrap it up, I just listening as the white guy in this situation, right? The temptation for a lot of guys when they listen to this is, yeah, but y'all should do this, and yeah, y'all, and like the whole black people kill each other in Chicago. Like, there's your tendency is to want to be like, you're getting on me about this, but y'all do this. Keep each conversation as its own conversation. Like, I hopefully we tried our best to not be like, okay, well let's, but y'all do. It's like, no, we got to deal with the fact that there's a problem. Deal with that problem by itself. If we have another conversation about something else later, then we talk about that stuff. But to deflect off, it happens a lot in politics. To deflect off just because you don't want to deal with it is that hurts. You know. So anyway, let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. Let go.
Hey guys, Miracle here. Thanks so much for watching the show. Make sure you go below, subscribe, like, click the bell. Oh, and go to our website because that's important. And be sure to follow us on all forms of social media and tell everyone you know about us. Okay? Thanks. See you next time.
Know not what we doing. Screw that, they know, let them have it, do it. Okay, I'm erratic, prove it. Never mind, got a mind that'll wind up with me in a lineup behind bars with these bars. Okay, my time's up.
Team Freedom.
Yeah.
We not through yet.
All right.
Trackstarz Music presents.
Turn my volume up. Turn me off.